Here's 10 reasons why trades struggle to make any money. Okay, we're going to dive straight into the content. Number one, they do everything themselves. Now, I was definitely like this years ago, working typically 80 to 100 hours a week as a bricklayer by trade, but ended up being multi-trade. But we're doing stuff like working on the tools, 40 to 50 hours a week. We're then looking at jobs in the evenings and at weekends. We're then doing paperwork, we're doing quotes, we're paying invoices, we're chasing money, we're fetching materials, we're clearing out the van. You name it, we have to do it. Recruitment, insurance, contracts, the list goes on and on and on. And, without realising it, you're probably doing 60, 70, 80 hours a week as it stands. Now, if you divide your salary, so let's say you've got 200 to £300 a day, and you divide that by those 60, 70, 80 hours a week, you're not really on as much money as you think, and your hourly rate certainly isn't as high as what you think. A lot of it works out to be £15, £20 an hour. You can earn that sort of money sitting on a till in Aldi's. You certainly don't need to be working outside in the wet and cold, laying the bricks for that sort of money. Now, one of the first things you can do is leverage. And what I did was I got an admin assistant, and she came in. Her name was Lynn. She came in and she took care of my quotes, my invoices, my CIS, my insurance. She organised all my trades. She chased up all my trades. Made sure they were going to turn up on time, right up until the point of the day before, so that we didn't have any gaps and let down. She would ring around for quotes and materials. And ultimately, this is like a £10 an hour job. So again, if you're doing these sort of jobs, you're pretty much valuing yourself at £10 an hour. Now, if you earn £40, £50 an hour on the tools, why would you go and do a £10 an hour job doing all the paperwork and admin stuff? So there I go. You can see why you're diluting your time into a lower income task straight away. The other thing is replace yourself on the tools. So, I was a bricklayer. Typically, I'd put my day rate in at, say, £250, £300 at the most. And I managed to find a brickie, sort of an odd job brickie. We was only doing small jobs on the garage conversions, bricking up the fronts, for example, and knocking some holes and walls and doors through. So he came in at like £150, £180 a day. And that meant that I could then free up my time, I got an extra 8 or 10 hours a day back in my time, plus I got all my time back in the evenings, and I went from like 100 hours a week down to about 10 or 12 hours a week within about 3 weeks, just from getting an admin person and replacing myself on the trowel. That was a game changer. That then freed up my time to start working on the business and obviously into developments, which is what we do. So number two, and again, you might find yourself doing this, and that is they say yes to everything. I'll give you an example. Yes, working for family. Now, for some of you, that might work great. For others, it doesn't work so great. And I just came up with this non-negotiable rule. I learnt from Grant Cardone that you have non-negotiables. I don't work for family. I don't work for friends. And then eventually, it got to the point where I don't work for customers. I just do developments. But, you need to have these non-negotiables in place and start saying no to certain things. When you're saying yes, you're basically opening yourself up to whatever comes along, and you're not deciding what you want to do. If you think about it, what you say yes or no to either takes you towards your goals or it moves you away from them. So you really, really do need to be careful on what you say yes to. And I'll give you another example. 1 minute you might do a £500 job, and then the next thing you're taking on a £50,000 job. Well, you can't earn £10,000 out of a £500 job. So maybe you need to start saying no to the small jobs, to the small little things. Because 1 minute you think, great, it's £100, it's just a couple of hours work. But it's not. You've got to get to the job. You've maybe got to go and pick something up. You've got to be there. The customer starts talking to you. Next thing you're late for another job. And that £100, all of a sudden, there's probably been a 5 or 6 hour job, which, yeah, okay, it might have just been an hour's work on the tools when you get to the customer's house. But like I say, if you work out your time and dilute it by the money you're taking, all of a sudden it's a £15, £20 an hour task. So really, really be conscious of what you say yes and no to going forward after watching this video. Sorry for interrupting the video, but if you'd rather go to work in one of these rather than a Ford Transit, make sure you subscribe, because there's loads and loads of people just like me and you learning how to do property development, and they get to drive to work in a Lamborghini rather than a Ford Transit. So make sure you subscribe. Number 3. Again, many of you will relate to this. I'm a brickie by trade, but I can pretty much do everything, and majority of it I can do as good, if not better, than some of the trades that are out there. So I'm pretty good at plumbing, I'm pretty good at plastering, I'm pretty good at carpentry. Um, Although I'm not those by trade, I'm not qualified in those trades, and I've never been taught to do those trades, I've picked up those along the way. I've enjoyed it, bought myself some good tools, so whenever I've learnt another trade, I've always bought the best of the tools out there, which definitely helps in what you're doing. Um, but it means that we end up doing a variety of jobs, and we can become multi-skilled. But again, from saying yes to everything, we then do all these different variety of works, and we spread ourselves too thin. Like I said, one day we could be plastering, then we could be roofing, then we could be hanging doors, then we're doing block paving. And it's great to have a variety of work, don't get me wrong, but you cannot become good at something if you spread yourself across 10 different things. Also, you want your customers to know you as a specialist in something. So we became the garage conversion specialists through our garage conversion company. You know, I went from doing all different types of jobs to just niching into one thing. Now, this sort of came along accidentally. I remember my brother-in-law used to say to me, "Oh, you know, I'm running low on work," and I said to him, "Garage conversions are the way, mate. Honestly, go and do them." And he ignored my advice. Um, so off he went, carried on being a busy carpenter, and eventually we sat there on holiday, me and my wife, and she said, "What do you enjoy doing?" I said, "I like doing the conversion work," and she said, "Where do you think the money is?" Garage conversions. That was how our garage conversion company niche came about. So we specialise in garage conversions. Customers really like the fact that we're the specialists, so we know what we're doing. They only come to us for the whole load of work, so they don't have to come to us and then go and get their own plumber or go and get their own electrician. We dealt with everything from start to finish, so customers really like that. But we became the specialist, and some people prefer to pay for the specialist. So let's say they're having a driveway done, they will probably look for a block paving specialist or a resin drive specialist. You know, they don't want a general builder, and if they're going to get a general builder, they don't expect to pay the bigger money. They expect to pay a general builder money because you are not a specialist in that niche. So the sooner you niche on something, the sooner you become a specialist, the sooner customers will pay you more money, and also the sooner you stick to doing that one thing and you become good at it. So with the garage conversions, for example, we use the same materials all the time. Whatever was left over, we just should move from one job to another. I built a team around those garage conversions, so the team knew exactly what they were doing. I didn't have to keep training different people up to do different things and build a team of 30, 40 different trades to manage 10, 15 different varieties of work. And that allowed us to scale up. You know, we was doing sort of 3 garage conversions a week at one point, and typically a garage conversion would take us around 3.5 days from start to finish. So again, from the customer side of things, they really wanted us because we was in and out. You know, we'd start on a Monday, Wednesday we'd be plastering the garage, Thursday dinner time we'd be finished, job done, and they could go and get decorating and carpets. Within a week they'd be finished and using that room. So niching in something is definitely a good thing, and stop saying yes to everything. Number 4, the only marketing they have is when this thing rings. So great, you know, I get it that customers recommend us and we like to get work from referrals, but we're sitting here waiting for the phone to ring. Now, some people's phones just ring constantly with jobs, but you don't know who they are, you don't know what they want. So that's not really marketing. You should be targeting your customers, the type of customers you want. So maybe you want the higher earning customers, you know, rather than the low earning customers. Again, I'll give you an example. One of my friends used to fit kitchens, and he would always go and get the work from the people that would go and get the kitchens from, say, B&Q or Wickes, and then they'd want him to come in at £200 a day and fit it, and he'd be there, say, 3 days to fit a kitchen. You're not going to make money in that job, honestly. They're just the wrong type of customers, and you know they haven't got enough money. They want everything done on a budget, and that's no disrespect to the customers, but look, you're here trying to build a business. You're working X amount of hours a week. You might as well use those hours working for the right customers, customers who earn good money, customers who have got no problem, you know, paying your invoice, customers that think your quote is cheap, even though it's probably fairly expensive in terms of the other demographic. And you can target those customers through the right advertising, say Facebook ads, for example. You know, you can choose customers who earn 100 grand and above through Facebook ads. People don't know that. And it's just a different type of customer. So, you know, you've got to think about the marketing you've got. Your social media, again, is a big marketing platform. A lot of people don't bother with it. And the reason a lot of trades don't do any marketing is because they tend to have enough work for sort of 3 or 4 weeks in front, and that's about as far as they think into the future. Whereas, as a business, you need to be thinking long term. You need to be scaling that business, and you need to have a lead generation to be able to generate those customers, whether the recession's coming, whether the market's good, whether it's bad. You need to be able to turn on a marketing tap to fill those inquiries coming in, close those sales, get the right customers, get the right type of work, build the right times, the right type of teams, and you will become unstoppable, whatever the situation is. Number 5, they have no sales process. So what I mean by this is, from when this thing rings and you answer the phone, there should be a whole customer journey mapped out, and a sequence of events that customer follows. So on the phone, for example, you could filter them out, ask them when they're looking to go ahead, because the amount of people I know that go and look to price up extensions and they haven't even got planning permission, they haven't even got an architect, and they just want a rough pound per square metre bill cost for an extension. It's just a waste of your time. So you need to filter out that side of things. And then what's the whole customer journey? So, from sending a quote in, is it a detailed price? Is it a round number, or is it just, a random number? So, round numbers just look like guesswork. Random numbers look like it's actually been worked out as a quote. Detail everything on that quote so that there's no arguments when it comes to doing the work. We take the time to do quotes and detail everything in black and white so the customer can see exactly what they're getting. And then, like I said, halfway through the build, they can't turn around and say, "Oh, I thought you said you was doing this," or "Wasn't you going to do that?" No, here it is, bullet pointed down. And again, this is going to set you apart from most of the other builders out there who just email or text a round number, £6,000, no VAT, we will do cash. This is your competition. It is no competition. This is your chance to set yourself out as a really well-run professional business, and you will become paid like one. So use that to get your sales process in hand, and look after the customer journey. So do a detailed breakdown of payments, payment terms, when they're due, guarantees, get customer reviews, for example, at the end of it. Do a follow-up call, a couple of weeks later. Are you happy with everything? Would love to come around and see the extension when it's fully decorated and furnished. Come back and take some pictures, maybe get a video testimonial. And that customer journey should be mapped out, and that process is stuck to every single time, so that you get the whole process right. Right, before we get on to the next 5 reasons why trades don't really earn much money, look, if you're enjoying this content, put in the comments yes or no. If you want to see more of this content, I'm more than happy to do lots of this sort of stuff. I've got lots of ideas that can help you guys, whether it's in the trades business or in developments. I work with lots of trades to help them earn a 6 or multi-6-figure profit. But yeah, if you want to see more of this sort of stuff rather than just the videos of me on site with some mentees, drop in the comments any subjects you want me to talk about. By all means, again, put them in the comments, and I'll gladly do a video for you guys. Okay, number 6. This is a big one. Working on the tools. Now, I like working on the tools, but you're only ever going to earn sort of £200 to £300 a day. One man in one place at one time, earning one wage. You are capped and limited on what you can earn. So the main thing you've got to do is leverage. You need to outsource and get people to do the stuff for you so you can work on it and not in it. Now, what I mean by working on the business, that means that you are dealing with marketing, you're dealing with sales, maybe face-to-face with a customer, but you have a team of people that are running your business for you, whether that's admin, whether that's operations manager, whether it's a sales manager, but you need to be working on your business. Now, I can work on my business from here in Spain, but if I'm laying the bricks with these hands, I have to be there back in the UK, in the wet and cold, trading my time for money, earning £200 or £300 a day. Out here, I could be looking for development opportunities. Most of my business is run from this thing, from phone and email, WhatsApp. But the main thing is that you outsource, get people to do your work. And look, Mr. Barrett's, who's building 28 to 30,000 houses a year, he's not on site laying the bricks and hanging the doors, is he? He's sat in the south of France, in the sun, in his yacht, while the work gets done, because he can be in thousands of places at once rather than one place at once, working on those tools. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of people who are listening to this video and watching it shouting at me saying, "Oh, I like working on the tools," and I get that, and it's a fantastic career. But look, your body will wear out, and you only have one body, and there's no point you earning good money because when you're young you've got your health but you've got no money, and when you get older you have money but you don't have your health. So you need to make sure you strike this work balance and really think about 5, 10, 15, 20 years in front of you. The amount of people I meet in their 20s and 30s who come on my property development training courses, and they're saying, "Oh, my elbow's knackered, my back's knackered, my knees, my shoulders," and you think, wow, you're only in your 20s and 30s. What I'm telling you now, it's not going to be any easier when you get in your 40s and 50s. So sometimes there's a time to get out, get off the tools, get other people doing the work, and it frees up your time to go and do whatever you want to do. Number 7. Okay, this is a big one. Trades cannot manage cash flow. The amount of trades I see borrowing deposits to pay for jobs to finish off is unbelievable. Now, okay, look, in reality, none of us have probably gone to business school. We don't have an MBA. We got into the business because we're on the tools and we like doing that type of work, and that's all we know. So we set a business up around it. But there are basic fundamentals around money management, and that is you do not go robbing a deposit to pay for a job to be finished off. Okay, so jobs tend to be split into 3 things, and that is materials, labour, and profits. Now, profit comes after wages and overheads. Okay, now the amount of trades I know that are probably charging, say, £300 a day, and then that's all they invoice for, so 5 days, £1,500. But then they've got a van to pay for every month, they've got insurance to pay for, they've got maybe some software, they've probably got some advertising going on, they've got a mobile phone, they could have all sorts going on their overheads, and that's just basically coming out of that £1,500 a week. And then you've got your tax. So, Mr. Taxman, yeah, he's nibbling away more and more as time goes on. So your profit comes after overheads, after your wages. That is profit. And people don't factor in a 20% profit. People just factor in their salaries, their wages. And this can be a real big reason why a lot of trades are working hard, invoicing like £1,500 a week, but then they've got all these overheads, and then there's wet weather, and the van breaks down, that's got to be paid for, whatever, and that just takes big chunks of money out of your £1,500 a week. Now, one of the things that is good to do, we've been through a recession, we've been through COVID, recessions come and go, financial crisis was a couple of years ago with the energy crisis, and I was always told by my mentor to put 2 years operating costs in a bank and set that aside. So 2 years operating costs would be all the money it's for your wages, for your vehicles, for your office, for your stuff, whatever it is. And that will make you bulletproof to get through any Armageddon that comes your way. Because a lot of businesses fold in a recession. There's businesses out there that if they do not get paid one invoice, they will go under. You do not want to be operating your business that way. You should have cash flow in reserves in your bank to just prop you up just in case you don't get paid, or just in case there's a downturn, just in case you might get 3 months of wet weather. Obviously not out here in Spain, but you could get 3 months of wet weather and you've got guys to pay and you've got no income coming in, and that will just take your business down. Another big thing you can do, which again I always advise my mentees to do, one of the first things I get them to do is every invoice that comes in from now on, you will put 20% of that invoice away into a satellite bank. It could be with the same bank, or it could be in a separate bank, and that 20% tends to pay for your VAT, it will pay for your tax, it pays for your accountancy fees, for example. So therefore the 80% left in your bank should be the money that stays in your bank, so you can see what's in there. Because the amount of people I know, they build up this cash pot, over 1 month, 2 months, whatever, they get 10, 20, 30, 40 grand, and then bang, they get a VAT bill, and then it just wipes out the account because they haven't been putting the VAT away. So 20% in a satellite account. I know you can't quite properly put 2 years operating costs away, but certainly for start, just put 1 month away, then 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and that will really allow you to go through each year with a lot more ease, rather than stressing over money coming in and money coming out into your business. Sorry to interrupt this video, but have you ever wondered how you can become a property developer? Well, in the comments is my exact 8-step blueprint to transform gardens into development sites like this and make life-changing money. Go check it out. Let's get back to the video. Number 8, here's a common one. And again, a lot of you trades watching this video are probably going to be like, ah, yeah, that's me. And that is they brand themselves after their own name. So, you know, it's great that you want to name a business after your own name, but the way the customers will see it is that when you're sending out a quote, their perception is that you get all the money, and why should one man get all that money? Now, I've got a few of my guys, you know, yes, they brand themselves in their own name, or they did do, and they've probably got 6 or 7 guys working for them, but the customers don't know that. So the customer just assumes it's one man, one wage, and therefore you're charging too much for my job. So a big thing to do, and a big thing I help a lot of my guys through, is rebranding as a company. So when you're a company, people then expect you to have overheads, and therefore, you know, when you're charging more money, it doesn't come as a shock. They don't get resistance in paying that bigger fee. The other thing is with customers. Let's say you get a customer who wants, I don't know, maybe a 200,000 brick wall. Maybe it's a massive, you know, brick and a half wall all the way around the perimeter of their building. You know, wealthy people, and they want this big job done. Are they going to go to a one-man band, or are they going to go to a big company? So again, you think about this, you're missing out on the big jobs from the bigger customers who want to use the companies because the trust is there, the experience is there, compared to one-man band who probably can't cope. So it's just a big thing to do, you know, and like, build a brand that you can be proud of. You know, you can sell a company from a brand. You can't sell a company if it's your name and it just involves you. Number 9, pricing every job to win it. Again, this is just, it's financial suicide. You know, you don't want every job. It's as simple as that. So some jobs you just have to say no to. Some jobs, yeah, you can overprice, and if you get them, you get them. There's enough money in there to certainly bring in some labour and leverage the whole thing out. So it doesn't mean you physically doing the job. But look, you shouldn't price every job. Some jobs are tricky. So let's say, for example, taking out the back of a house, putting the big steels in, open plan. Now, sometimes those steels come wrong measured from the survey. Sometimes you need 6, 7 guys to lift all those steels up, whereas you're probably just a 1 or 2 man band. So you need to get this labour from somewhere just to come in for a day. These are the sort of jobs that are very hard to price for a lot of people without the experience. And you know, rather than going into the unknown and pricing these jobs and losing money, just know when to say no. There's always going to be plenty of work out there. But look, saying yes to every job and trying to win every job really is financial suicide. It does come back to the niching, comes back to doing something that you're good at, something that you enjoy doing, something that you know inside out, to the penny, to the time it takes, so that you can price your jobs to make profit every single job. And number 10, when work drops off, which it does for some of us, we tend to drop our rates. You know, trades will drop their rates to start winning the work back because they haven't got any work, so they get a little bit desperate, they get a little bit emotional. So let's say you normally charge £300 a day, for example. If you haven't got much work, all of a sudden you drop your rates down to £200 a day. Now, over time, those customers will all start to say yes to you because you're cheap. Great, got somebody here who's going to work for us £200 a day. Yeah, we'll take them on. So all of a sudden you get busy again. And then what happens when you get busy is you start overpricing jobs. And then when you're overpricing jobs, you will start repelling those jobs. So you'll stop winning those jobs. You haven't got time to do it, so you just whack a crazy price, and probably don't even put too much effort into the quotation process and the customer journey process. So you don't win those jobs, and then as work drops off again, you will start going back down to that bottom and start pricing those jobs at £200 a day again. So it really does come down to finding the right type of person, pricing those jobs at high, and remember, look, you know, if you've got jobs that are priced high and give you a really good wage, you don't need as many of those jobs. You know, this is the thing I soon learned, again, from my mentor, that I was always pricing up to work Monday to Friday, always keeping myself busy, and he just said, look, keep increasing your prices. And I said, yeah, but I'm going to be losing work. He went, great. And I went, what do you mean great? He went, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And I went, really? He went, yeah. He said, because as you price up high, you will filter out those customers that don't want to pay the high rates, but you will get the customers that will win. You will win the jobs with the high rates. And again, that comes into making sure you've got enough leads, making sure that you've got a good sales process, a good customer journey process, a good company brand. You niche, you're a specialist in something, and you've got a team of people that can do this work and give the customers a lot of trust. So that was a really big thing for me. And look, ultimately, if you can generate enough leads and you can price the work up so you can earn good profits, you just get teams of people in to come and do the work. You can start asking yourself, rather than saying, oh, how can I do that? It's who can I get to do that? And you take on those jobs accordingly. But look, ultimately, these 10 points are definitely holding trades back from earning good money. I hope you found them useful. A lot of this stuff is fairly simple to implement. Like I say, I work with a lot of trades to get them off the tools and sort of build their business up so they can step back out, earn a 6 or multi-six figure income. And a lot of them then will then transition into developments. A lot of people want to dump their business, and sometimes I say, look, let's just create this into a cash flowing business. You could generate a couple $100,000 a year without too much effort and time, and still go and do the developments, which is not a full-time job. I manage my developments from here, literally 10-15 minutes a day at most, through email and WhatsApp. While I'm out here, I'm looking for plots, dealing with legals, funding, managing my guys, paying invoices, whatever. I can get all that done from while I'm out here from a phone. But of course, if I go back to being a bricklayer, I've got to take these two hands back to the UK and work 8 to 10 hours on the tools for £200 to £300 a day. That's not happening, by the way. But yeah, if you found the content useful, make sure you like and subscribe to the video. And like I say, if you've got anything you want me to cover, put it in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one very soon.